Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Type 1 Thursday. I am so happy that you're here because I have done something different this week, and I'm excited to tell you about it. I will tell you what I did, I will tell you how I did it. Well, it's pretty straightforward, but I will also reveal the patterns that I found doing this little experiment, because this week, as you may have seen, I have been logging my food again for the umpteenth time in the history of my of my diabetes career, which has become quite long by this point, despite me only being 25, and I cannot see how that works. But anyway, as you may have seen on Instagram, that's primarily where I've been sharing this, I have been logging my food again. And I wanted to know from you, while I keep yapping on here, how about you tell me in a comment somewhere whether you are pro or contra logging food, because I am very much against logging food. I really freaking loathe, I hate logging food. I hate it so much, because this comes from my diagnosis, having to do it. Well, I didn't have to do it, but my parents had to do it for my diagnosis about 35 years ago this year. And also I've had to do it so many times since, and especially when I've been struggling with diabetes and it's been really shit everywhere. And also, of course, when I trained in nutrition, when I became a nutrition professional, I had to log a lot of food, and I really, really don't like it. So that's, my bias out of the way. I really don't like logging food, but I decided to do it now anyway, because I do think it's good to sometimes check where I'm at in terms of how much I'm eating and all this stuff. But I had to be honest and say that I really don't care about calories. I really don't care about macros. I really don't care about percentages here and there, energy percentages. I don't care about ketones really at all, unless I'm sick. And in terms of ruling it out from something else, I just focus on minimizing the carbs, because that's what works for me. I know you're a lot of people out there where this doesn't work for, or you don't agree with it, but let's just assume that we can be individual in our care, and that different things fit different people. So yes, I really think it is a good idea sometimes to do check what it is that I'm eating, and you can do this with different providers such as MyFitnessPal or Chronometer, or there's a Swedish one that is really good as well. But yes, sometimes it's good, but yes, I also don't like it. Anyway, my basal metabolic rate, as in what my body burns, how much my body burns when I do nothing, when I sit and breathe, basically, is about 1,300 calories. You can find out this in many ways. You can use manual things, or you can use little calculators, or I also have my wearables calculate it for me as well, and they're always around 1,300 calories. So that's, what I'm working with here. And in this week's experiment, it has revealed itself that I eat something between 1,100 and 2,000 calories a day. And I know, I don't even believe in calorie counting, so I don't even know why I'm keeping track. But I thought, hey, this is interesting, because I don't see that calorie counting works the way it has been made seem to work. I much more believe in that nutrition is information for the body that the body can use. And I also strongly believe that our bodies are wonderful machines who can regulate this. If you dare to listen to your body, and this is my main message today, if you dare to listen to your body, it will tell you if you need more calories, less calories, more energy, and in which form, less energy, and in which not form. It's possible that your body tells you this. Anyway, that's with that being out of the way, Also, I did get a few comments, not just one, a few comments about why I'm eating so little calories. Again, for me, this is not really a problem because I don't really pay attention to it. I pay much more attention to whether I'm full, whether I'm happy, whether I'm satisfied, whether I'm in a good mood, all of these things. And of course, at my yearly checkup, I check if I have anything missing, but so far so good. It hasn't really been that way. So why so little calories? And I really believe that I do eat food with very dense nutrition. So there's a lot of nutrition per calorie, per gram of carb, per gram of fat and protein. So there's a lot of nutrition in the calories and the macros that I do eat. So that's why I think I don't really, if I'm not hungrier than 1100 calories one day, I'm not going to force feed myself just to get up to an arbitrary number for me. I am well nourished, as you can see. I'm not just skin and bones. There's some ample things to take off from here, so I'm not undernourished either. And as I said, I eat however much I want. I don't have any limits for myself. I eat however much I want until I'm full, happy, satisfied. And I really believe in that. This experiment showed me that I intuitively vary calories according to my needs. This is something very natural it's natural for hunger to vary, for calories to vary from day to day, depending on what you've done, how you feel, all of these things that have an impact on that. I came to the conclusion that I am quite good at intuitive eating, actually, where I really listen to my body in terms of what it wants, in terms of how much it wants, in terms of what kind of nutrition it needs on that day, in that moment. And really, my philosophy is really so easy, as in, eat when you're hungry, don't eat when you're not hungry, which leads me to eat basically 2 meals a day. Sometimes have a snack between the meals, sometimes I don't. It really depends on what my body is calling out for. And also an important point, because this is a completely different ballgame if this is your problem, but I eat without emotion. I think that food is joyous and it's good and I enjoy food and it needs to taste good, but it's not because I don't eat because I'm sad. I don't eat because I'm happy. I don't eat because, there's an underlying emotion. So if this is your ballgame, then there are tons of experts out there who can help you with this. But it's a completely different ballgame to handle. I also noticed that I tend to eat less when I have a more active day, which is completely weird. I find it very weird too that I eat less when I've had a much more active day. 3 days a week I do a bodyweight exercise for half an hour. Well, different bodyweight exercises, but still bodyweight exercises for half an hour. I go out walking at least half an hour and I do at least half an hour of yoga. So that's 1.5 hours on those 3 days that I move my body because it feels good, not because I feel I have to, because it feels good. And again, I listen to my body and it wants to move. On other days, on the other 4 days of the week, I do walking and or yoga or both. It depends on how I feel during the day. But yes, on the days I move more, I eat slightly less calories, which was weird to me. But again, I don't worry about it. I know my body can take care of itself. It's fine. I also got a lot of questions if I bolus for the meals that I eat, considering there's basically very little carbs in the food that I eat. Do I even bolus for it? And yes, I do bolus for my food, which is why I said in my Instagram stories very many times, yes, I bolus for this, because it is very important, of course, to keep blood sugar stable, healthy, and normal levels. And this was a great success in those terms as well. This week, my blood sugars have been great, and I'm very grateful for that. But I also corrected when I had to. All of that stuff, I used insulin as normal. But because bolus strategy for every person with diabetes is very, very individual. I didn't see the point of actually disclosing any numbers or how many units I was taking or anything like that, because it's a pretty arbitrary number as well, much like calories. How much bolus, it doesn't really matter because it's so individual. A lot of it comes down to what your routine is, what your eating habits are, what do you usually eat. Do you eat a lot of carbs usually, or do you eat less carbs usually? It all depends how much you need to take. It also depends on, of course, the role of your basal insulin, the underlying insulin, and it really depends on so many things. So that's why I haven't really disclosed a number. It also depends on what your fat and protein factors are and how much you need to bolus for protein, for example. There are rules of thumb absolutely for all of this, but for you as an individual, you will need to play a little trial and error to see what works for you in certain circumstances. But as a, little general info, a little factoid, is that I used anything between 15 and 21 total units per day in my insulin pump. That means it's both basal and bolus insulin, and with a ratio of 85% basically basal and 15% bolus. So, it doesn't really tell you much, but it just shows that I do take insulin and I do take adequate amounts of insulin, and I won't go into DKA because, of course, that is the danger of taking too little insulin, because DKA is always due to at least the relative lack of insulin in your body. So what is my conclusion of my, now 4-day experiment? I cannot wait to finish it tomorrow, but my 4-day experiment so far is that I still loathe, I still hate logging food. It was a great reminder that I still do that, because for me it really takes away the joy of food, the joy of eating, the sheer pleasure of eating, and puts too much in my head. There's too many thoughts, there's too much planning, there's too much, oh yeah, how many blah 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 was this, and how many walnuts did I eat there, and how much cream was that. It takes the complete joy out of it for me, and it also takes me out of the sort of trusting my body, listening to my body feeling that I find is so important, especially when it comes to intuitive eating. This was the quick-ish conclusion of my 4-day experiment of logging food. Before I go, I wanted to ask you, what does food logging mean to you? Logging your food in, one of these terrible things that I used to get from my dietitian when I still saw one. Is it a fun experiment to check in on yourself every once in a while? Or are you team me, that it's a bit of a personal torture? Please let me know in a comment somewhere on the internet, and I'd be happy to chat with you there. And until next time, I will see you on Type 1 Thursday.